On May 3, 1999, 74 tornadoes touched down across Oklahoma in a single night. The world remembers one. Moore, Oklahoma. The F5 that made history. Storm chasers captured it. News crews filmed it. The world watched. But the tornado didn't start in Moore. It started in Bridge Creek. And Bridge Creek? The world forgot it by morning. This is the full story of Oklahoma's deadliest night, the night one city became famous and another one was quietly erased. May 3, 1999 started quietly. Bridge Creek, Oklahoma, population just over 700. A small community of farmers, families, and people who had lived their whole lives under that wide, flat Oklahoma sky. School let out that afternoon like any other day. Kids came home, lawns got mowed. Someone in town was probably grilling. It was warm enough for it. 79 degrees by mid-afternoon with a soft, light southerly wind. Normal. Just completely normal. 40 miles north in Norman, Oklahoma, meteorologists at the Storm Prediction Center were not relaxed. By noon, they had already flagged the atmosphere over southwest Oklahoma as dangerous. Unusually high wind shear with a dry line pushing east. The kind of setup that keeps chasers up at night. They issued a tornado watch for the region at 3:04 p.m. In Bridge Creek, nobody changed their plans. That isn't a criticism, that is just the reality of May in Oklahoma. Tornado watches are background noise. They happen. You check the sky, you go back inside and finish supper. At 4:47 p.m., the first tornado of the outbreak touched down west of Chickasha, Oklahoma. 38 minutes later, the storm that would become the most violent tornado in recorded history was on the ground. The people of Bridge Creek were still eating dinner. They had no idea what was coming. At 4:51 p.m., a tornado touched down near Medicine Park, Oklahoma. It was rated F0. Barely a tornado by definition. The kind of event that doesn't even make the local news. But this storm was not done. The atmosphere over southwest Oklahoma on May 3, 1999, was behaving like nothing meteorologists had seen in modern recorded history. Wind shear values, the difference in wind speed and direction between the surface and upper atmosphere, were off the charts. Literally. The numbers were so extreme that some forecasters didn't trust their own instruments. They were right to be concerned. Storm A, as it would come to be known in the post-storm analysis, had been organizing since roughly 3:20 p.m. over Tillman County. A supercell, moving northeast, getting stronger with every mile. Over the next 90 minutes, it produced tornado after tornado. The first were brief, weak, almost dismissible. Then they weren't. At approximately 5:20 p.m., a tornado touched down near Apache, Caddo County. It was rated F3. It destroyed houses. It injured people. Under normal circumstances, this would have been the story of the night. These were not normal circumstances. The storm was cycling, reorganizing, tightening. At 5:46 p.m., another tornado dropped out of the same supercell, this one tracking directly into the northwest side of Chickasha, Oklahoma. Rated F3, 9 miles long, 880 feet wide. Power lines down, homes destroyed. A satellite tornado rotated around it like a smaller vortex in orbit. The Storm A supercell had now produced 6 tornadoes in under 2 hours. It was not finished. At 6:12 p.m., it produced a 7th. An F2 that tracked directly across Chickasha Municipal Airport, tearing the roofs off hangars, destroying aircraft on the ground. An aircraft wing from that airport was later found 45 miles away in southwest Oklahoma City. 7 tornadoes from a single storm. in less than 90 minutes. And then, at 6:23 p.m., 2 miles south-southwest of Amber, Oklahoma, the 8th tornado touched down. It was rated F2 on the ground. It would not stay F2. Over the next 10 minutes, the tornado underwent what meteorologists call rapid intensification. The vortex tightened. The winds accelerated. Ground-level debris was being lofted hundreds of feet into the air before most people in its path even knew it existed. By 6:33 p.m., it was an F5, the most violent category on the Fujita scale, winds exceeding 260 miles per hour by standard classification. But this storm wasn't standard. A Doppler on wheels radar unit, operated by researchers from the University of Oklahoma, captured wind speeds inside the tornado at 318 miles per hour. 318. That number has never been recorded in any tornado, before or since. The storm was moving northeast at 35 miles per hour, locked in, consistent, not wobbling, not lifting, not weakening. And it was pointed directly at Bridge Creek, Oklahoma. At 6:38 p.m., the National Weather Service issued the first ever tornado emergency, the strongest, most urgent warnings ever to be in their arsenal, reserved for life-threatening situations with confirmed violent tornadoes on the ground. In Bridge Creek, people had minutes, some had less. The tornado was 1.1 miles wide at its peak. That is not a typo. 1.1 miles. If you placed it over most American towns, it would erase them completely, edge to edge. Bridge Creek is not a big town. At 6:41 p.m., it hit. What happened in the next 4 minutes would be debated, documented, and studied for the next 25 years. And still, Bridge Creek would barely make the news. The tornado was on the ground for 38 miles. 38 miles of continuous, unbroken contact. No lifting, no skipping. Just forward momentum at 35 miles per hour. Relentless, locked, and 1.1 miles wide the entire time. When it finally dissipated northeast of Moore at 7:14 p.m., it left behind a damage path that federal surveyors would spend 3 days documenting. What they found in Bridge Creek, they were not prepared for. Homes were not damaged in Bridge Creek. They were gone. Not collapsed, not blown off their foundations. Gone. Slabs scraped clean. Debris fields stretching a quarter mile in every direction. Vehicles thrown hundreds of yards. Trees stripped to splinters, not just branches, the entire tree. Stripped and relocated like they were never there. Forensic damage surveys rated the Bridge Creek corridor at F5 intensity across a path width of nearly 3/4 of a mile. For a town of 700 people, that is not a storm. That is an extinction event. 36 people were killed by the F5. The majority died before it reached Moore. 36 deaths. That number is documented, official, final. But numbers don't tell you about the Stinnett family. They don't tell you about the people who sheltered in interior rooms, the rooms they'd been told their whole lives were the safest place, and were found in the debris field the next morning. They don't tell you about the rescue workers who arrived in Bridge Creek at 9 p.m. and found entire streets where there were no structures left to search. There was nothing to search. There was only ground. By the time the national media arrived, they went to Moore. Moore had more cameras, more footage, more standing structures to film in front of. Moore had neighborhoods the cameras could drive through and narrate. Bridge Creek had nothing left to stand in front of. So the reporters stood in Moore, and the nation watched Moore. 8,000 homes across central Oklahoma were damaged or destroyed that night. $1 billion in damage, conservatively. 48 separate tornadoes touched down across Oklahoma and Kansas between 4:47 p.m. and midnight. 48. And the one that broke every record in tornado science, the one that moved at 318 miles per hour and scraped a town off the Oklahoma plains, got a footnote. Because Moore was bigger. Moore was closer to Oklahoma City. Moore had better pictures. Bridge Creek had better data. It just didn't have anyone left to broadcast it. The Doppler on Wheels unit was parked just over 2 miles from the tornado's core. Dr. Joshua Werman and his team from the University of Oklahoma weren't storm chasers in the traditional sense. They were atmospheric scientists, and on May 3, 1999, they were measuring something that should not have been possible. 318 miles per hour, ground relative wind speed, inside the tornado's inner circulation. For context, the previous highest reliably measured tornado wind speed was 286 miles per hour. That was the Bridge Creek Moore Tornado 2. Same storm, same vortex, but a different radar pass. 318 shattered everything. The Fujita scale, the system used since 1971 to rate tornado intensity, was built on damage. F5 meant incredible damage. It meant homes swept clean off foundations. It meant steel-reinforced concrete structures badly damaged. But it was an estimate, based on what was left behind. The 318 reading was not an estimate. It was a direct measurement. A machine looking directly into the tornado, recording wind speeds that would place this storm well above the theoretical maximum for an F5. That is why the National Weather Service, after the storm, rated it F5, not F6. There is no F6. But everyone who saw that number knew this storm had behaved like something the scale was never designed to capture. There is no F6. The reading forced a reckoning. In 2007, 8 years after May 3rd, the National Weather Service retired the Fujita scale entirely, replaced it with the enhanced Fujita scale. The EF scale, they said, would be more precise, more conservative, grounded in engineering studies of actual structural damage. But meteorologists will tell you privately, the real reason was May 3rd. The old scale couldn't handle what that storm proved was possible. So they changed the rules. And still, the 318 mile per hour reading stands alone, unmatched, unbroken. The highest wind speed ever recorded inside a tornado on Earth. It was measured 2 miles from the center. The people of Bridge Creek were inside it. By the time the tornado reached Moore, 20 miles northeast of Bridge Creek, it had already done its worst work. Moore got the headlines. Moore got the national coverage. Moore got the president. But the wind speed that changed tornado science was recorded over a town of 700 people that most Americans have never heard of. Bridge Creek didn't just experience the most violent tornado in recorded history. It was forgotten while it was still happening. The warning was issued at 6:38 p.m. The tornado hit Bridge Creek at 6:41 p.m. 3 minutes. 3 minutes between a federal emergency bulletin and total destruction. The warning system worked. The lead time didn't. And here's the part nobody talks about. Moore had outdoor warning sirens, a network of them positioned across the city, tested monthly, maintained by the municipality. Bridge Creek had one siren for 700 people, spread across rural Oklahoma terrain, in a town where the houses sit far apart, where the roads are unpaved, where your nearest neighbor might be a quarter-mile away and you can't hear their radio, let alone a siren on the edge of town. And then there is the other problem, the problem Oklahoma has never fully solved: basements. The advice that saves lives in Kansas and Missouri, go underground, go to your basement, get below the floor, was not an option for most Bridge Creek families. The soil composition across much of central Oklahoma makes basement construction unstable and expensive. It shifts, it cracks foundations. So most homes were built without them, which means when that tornado emergency hit the airwaves at 6:38 p.m., the people of Bridge Creek had 3 minutes, no basement, one siren, and a 1.1-mile wide F5 moving at 35 miles per hour bearing down on them from the southwest. Some of them made it to bathtubs, interior hallways, closets under staircases. Some of them did not make it anywhere. After May 3rd, FEMA released a report. It said, and this is a direct quote, that the lack of below-ground sheltering options in rural Oklahoma was a significant contributing factor to the death toll. Significant contributing factor. That is federal language for, we knew this was a problem, and it took 36 deaths to put it in writing. Congress authorized funding for storm shelter assistance programs after 1999. Oklahoma expanded its shelter rebate program. Communities across Tornado Alley began retrofitting public buildings with underground safe rooms. The system got better. It got better because of Bridge Creek. Bridge Creek just didn't get to benefit from it. May 3rd is remembered as the night Moore, Oklahoma was hit by an F5. That much is in fact true. But it isn't the whole truth. The whole truth is Bridge Creek, a town of 700 people that absorbed the most violent winds ever recorded on this planet, and was written out of the headlines before the debris even hit the ground. 36 families never came home that night. The science changed, the shelters got funded, the scale got rewritten, and Bridge Creek got a footnote. For them, May 3rd never really ended. The sky doesn't care what you remember, but we do, because the story didn't end in 1999.
Folks, this is essentially, you never want to say it, but we're going to say it right now. This is May 3rd all over again as far as the intensity of this tornado, where it is heading. And something has to change fast, or it's going to be very close to a May 3rd event. Never want to say that, but that's what we have right now.